Nice to see you again on my channel. Let's dive into the new story and try to resolve it together in the comments below after watching this video. Get comfortable and let's begin. My wife betrayed me, but I can't break up. I'm not sure if this is the correct place for this, but my head is scrambled at the moment. Recently, during a bout of paranoia, I went through my wife's phone. We've been together for over 10 years, and it's the first time I've ever done it. I found messages between her and her friend from last year where she admitted she was spending a lot of time with a guy I didn't know she was spending time with. The messages also said they had kissed and had some other sexual contact. I confronted her, and at first, she denied it. So I pushed. Then she admitted it but refused any details. So I pushed harder. She finally admitted that she put herself into a very vulnerable situation with him and he had raped her. She blames herself for putting herself in the situation, which, while a stupid situation to put yourself in, doesn't make it her fault. I won't go into details, but I have 100% confidence that that is exactly what happened. Me pushing her to talk about it, because I had no idea that was going to be the outcome, has really messed her up. She told me it took her a long time to put that incident in a box and lock it away, and now I've brought it all up, she's fallen apart mentally, even though she's always been very mentally sound, which I completely understand. The problem is I don't know what to do. She has betrayed me, cheated to an extent, but she's in a terrible place at the moment, and I can't tell her that it's over right now. I also can't let her believe everything's fine only to call it off later. I love this girl more than life itself, but I can't stay with her after the way she treated me. Edit. To clarify, I have seen evidence that her account of what happened is without a doubt completely true. Edit 2. Including possible TW. She has accepted from the start that everything leading to that night was cheating. She isn't acting like the victim in our situation, she's not expecting sympathy, she's just reprocessing the memory of what was a pretty horrific sexual assault. The evidence I have seen is a conversation between her and her attacker after the incident in which she is trying to get him to accept that it was without her consent, including a memorable message from him asking if she really didn't want it, why didn't you fight harder? She doesn't want to go to the police, and I believe that is her choice to make. I wasn't here looking for advice on whether to believe her. As I stated, after a period of skepticism, I believe her story 100%. I was just looking for some advice on how to move forward with the situation given that she's already suffering enough trauma. I worry that maybe a breakup would push her over the edge. Let's read what other users think about this story. Better Refrigerators said asterisk. I have an ex who was hospitalized by the guy she was cheating with. It's hard to feel two things at once. I didn't kick her out, and I didn't end our relationship immediately. I let her heal and come home, etc. She didn't deserve that just because she was cheating, the same as your wife. But it doesn't mean they are suddenly absolved nor changed as people in that. You don't have to be okay with their behavior, and the SA doesn't mean they will never cheat again or have solved the problems that led to that eventuality. Once she was stable, I ended things with her. It sucked, but I couldn't get over it, and to be honest, yes, I judged her judgment in people and generally to such a degree that even if I could have gotten over the infidelity, I could never have trusted her again. Not because she was somehow to blame for this psycho's treatment of her, but because I knew enough about the situation by the time she healed to know that there were numerous red flags, tons of reckless behavior that jeopardized everyone's, including my own health, and so on and so forth. Creating a smorgasbord of terrible and selfish decisions that destroyed an irreparable amount of my respect for her. And indicated very clearly that she didn't have a lot of respect for me, or us, or herself. It took me years to get over, and I lost some friends who thought she automatically deserved a second chance, but now, 15 years later, I'm glad I chose myself. Edited to clarify, it's also okay to still care about the safety and well-being of someone who hurt you, to love someone who hurt you, and still be angry. That's the second feeling I was talking about. It means you're a good person who can separate one issue from the other. This is rough, pal, but I promise you it will all be okay. Pass under Passover said. So, my default is to believe people when they say they were raped. However, in this particular situation, your wife only told you this after being backed into a corner and lying multiple times. Additionally, she did not mention anything about being assaulted in her messages to her friend, which is suspicious given that she did mention that they had sexual contact. Regardless of whether she is being honest about being raped, she laid the groundwork for an affair before that ever happened. That is cheating, not to an extent, but point blank. You can have empathy for her being violated if it did happen and also recognize that she violated your trust before that. You are not responsible for being her caretaker while you are nursing your own hurt at her hands. If you know you are leaving, rip the band-aid off. She can turn to the rest of her support system for help. You cease to be part of that support system when she cheated on you. Cookie Protection said asterisk. Maybe she truly got raped, maybe she didn't. But everything leading up to that was cheating, there is no doubt about that. My guess is that if she had been raped by some random person out of nowhere, she probably would have told you to get support. If she did get raped by this person, she probably didn't tell you because she was already cheating up until that happened. And she denied cheating when you confronted her as well. Are you able to look back at when this happened and see if her behavior changed at all? Was she reluctant to have sex all of a sudden? Did she seem down/depressed? Because I would think most people would have a pretty significant reaction to something like that. You don't need to make any decisions right away. If you feel like you want to work on the relationship, then you can try. But it seems like the vast majority of people end up not being able to get past it and still end up leaving. But I guess at least you know you gave it a try. You're also not wrong to want out right away. It's terrible what happened to her, and the actual rape is not her fault, but she chose to get involved with someone outside of her marriage, and that, of course, is all on her. You might think about doing some therapy for yourself just to work through this and have an unbiased party to talk to. Her cheating shouldn't be swept under the carpet because of what happened. And you should probably do marriage counseling if you want to try and make it work, as well as individual therapy for her. Also, know that she's already had a year to deal with this, both the cheating and the rape. In a way, this is old news. For you, however, it's like it just happened as you just found out about it, so it's normal your thoughts and feelings are all over the place right now. Give yourself some time to process before you make any big decisions. What do you think, guys? Because story is really difficult. I also believe if she said she was raped, it's a very stupid lie if it is so. Now let's go to the next story. Let me start with a little background. My wife and I got married 3 years ago and have been together for 6 years. When we met, I was already in my 3rd year of college for a special branch of a very productive industry, something like the USA Army. You go to a different country for a few months, do some really dangerous jobs, get paid a lot, come back a few months, and so on. In the beginning, I was going for 6, 8, or even 10 months away in order to get promoted as fast as possible. Now, I went around 4 years of medium salary in my country in just 3 months. It is a hard job, but I love it. My wife was very supportive, and I always knew that it is very hard for her to have this kind of lifestyle. I always tried to spoil her and compensate for my time spent away from her with tons of gifts and trips to exotic places. 2 years ago, when I came home after an extended contract, I had to stay almost 2 more months because all flights and borders got shut down during COVID, but I got 20% extra salary during this time. She told me she can't take it anymore. She goes crazy alone at home and she has nothing to do. She lost her job during COVID and did not want to work again after that, which I fully support her because I wanted her to be happy and money was not a problem. I was petrified, and at first, I believed she won the breakup. Then she continued with, "I love you so much, and I want you to give me a baby so I can take care of him and have a little bit of you when you are gone on contracts." After 5 months of hard work with no women in a 100-kilometer range, making a baby was done very fast and multiple times just to be sure. If you know what I am talking about, I was nervous for the first month because we always feared we may not be able to make a baby. For the first 4 years, we did not use any kind of protection except pull out, and she never got pregnant. But after a few weeks, she wakes me up with a long kiss and a smile on her face, then shows me the test result. I was the happiest man alive. Everything changed. I was a man now. I was a father. I was on top of the world. I was going with her on every doctor appointment, and during the contract, I was asking for echo sounds instead of nudes. The birth had no complications, and everything went amazing. 1 month later, I go on another contract to make some money that should cover every need for our little baby. Halfway during this contract, I received a text from my wife, which shattered my life. The text was short and simple, and I would never forget those 4 words that sent me into the deepest depression. I want a divorce. I did not understand. I tried to call her to find out what happened, and nothing. After a few days of talking back and forth, she said, I want a divorce so I can marry with the love of my life. I was already preparing my suitcase because I made a request to my company to send me back as an emergency. When I got home, she and the baby were gone. 2 weeks later, I was in court to settle the divorce. During this, I found out that she had a lover for well over 4 years, and she plans to marry him as soon as the divorce is done. Now, the laws in my country are different, and I knew that my first priority should be a really good lawyer. My wife had a really shitty one, and she decided to speak by herself without the help of the lawyer. Most of the time, her whole idea was I am a woman, and he is never home. Well, even if the laws usually favor women in my country, cheating is considered to be a break of contract wedding contract, and she wanted to take full custody of our children. In order for me to pay child support, I was not letting this happen. I spoke with my lawyer and an accountant, and it seems that I only had to pay child support from my base salary. My danger bonus is not included in child support because it's for my life risk and mine alone, and because the company pays less taxes on the danger bonuses, I have a lot of them, and my base salary is around 10% of my income. When she found out that she would take almost nothing from child support, and I gave her the option of me taking full custody of the child with a no-contact rule, and I will never ask her for child support, she agreed in a second. Basically, she agreed to get out of our lives. We even changed the birth certificate of the child as me the father and a blank space for the mother. She gave up any kind of claim on the baby. During the trial, her lover was asked to come as a witness, and the idiot agreed. He is an AliExpress version of Andrew Tate, an alpha man who treats women like shit, and this seems to turn her on, and he has a pretty good income. He has a small company that pays less than half my salary, but he is always at home. It's still a lot of money for our country right now. During the trial, he said they cheated behind my back for 3 years, and that the baby is his. She tricked me into making a baby to cover up her cheating. He said all this just to make me feel horrible, I guess, because it's actually kind of illegal. My lawyer explained to me that it's something like alienation of affection and other legal terms. He basically said I knew they were married, but I decided to ruin the marriage. At this point, the child situation was already done, and an agreement was signed. The judge asked my wife if it was true, and she said yes. The judge ordered DNA tests just to confirm. After the DNA test confirmed what they said, the judge said she would let me cancel the agreement and settle the situation again with my wife. Now that the child is not biologically mine, I said, "No, Your Honor, this child is mine, and I want to keep him." The judge was stunned for a minute, but then she said, "Well, if the agreement is a valid contract, and since you don't want to void it, then Mr. L, you are a father, and no one can take that child away from you. In my country, it doesn't matter who the biological parent is, it matters who is the parent in the documents." Since he knew he was the father from the beginning and did not come to the hospital to declare it, he automatically canceled all his paternal claims. It may sound stupid, but it makes sense in order to protect the idea of a family. If a man recognizes a fatherless child at the hospital, he should not fear that the biological father will come back. It's in order to protect the value of family and encourage people to do a good thing and start a family. Now that the divorce is over, I have my baby, and my wife is out of my life. The first thing I did was hire 3 babysitters to work 8 hours a day so my child has someone to stay with him 24/7 and I have time. Revenge. To prepare for my revenge, I started 2 separate companies with the help of an online assistant from India. You can hire them for a cheap price, and they will do whatever you need online. This guy made 2 super professional companies, one in industrial credits, which gives money to businesses for a lower rate than banks, and the second one was a copycat of my ex-company, but this one was in the same city as his. Both were made just for one client, my ex-wife's lover. My assistant started sending tons of ads to my credit company to him, emails, targeted Google, Facebook ads, etc. I was sure that he knows that if he needs money, this is the place he can take a lot with low rates. Next, I made a lot of advertising on the second company, but the company had only the machines and the rented space and only one worker, the cleaning lady. Every time someone called for the company services, they got immediately declined because we were overbooked. My ex's lover, let's call him D, was one of them, multiple times actually, and he goes mad every time he got rejected because he sees how big the competition is now. It was the time to give him the bait because my company had some problems in the main country. I don't even know in which country this company was registered. They changed the management and wanted to make some fast profits, so the regional manager wanted to sell some of the equipment. When he heard this, he started calling and sending emails to buy them out. The response was something like, "We are an international company. We can't sell the brand, but we can sell some equipment." It was illegal for me to sell the company without showing him the accountant's data, which was empty, but the equipment I could sell just within a simple contract. He wanted the competition out of his city. He did not need the equipment, so the manager gave him a deal. If he bought their equipment for, let's say, 3 times the price, they could say in the contract that they would not make business again in this city. In just 2 hours, he received calls and emails on his first company for credit for that equipment and blah blah. He knew he was out of money because he spent a lot on his future wedding with my ex-wife. He sent him a contract based on their evaluation. The equipment was not worth that money, so he would need to give them a guarantee. His company and he were not allowed to sell any equipment or parts of his company until he paid everything back. If he was behind in payment for 6 months straight, he would get all of it. Also, in the contract, it stated that the credit company would buy that equipment directly. Basically, he just gave himself his money. He made sure every single word of the contract was legal and was a deal good enough for him to take it. Later that same day, he sent him the signed contract. Normally, he should be able to pay for everything, even if the clients he hoped he would get from this company leaving are non-existent. He still should be able to pay if he gives him around 80% of his company income for the next 5 years. Fast forward a bit, on the day of the wedding, he went to give them an envelope. In his country, you give money in envelopes as a wedding gift. He started to laugh at him and told him to get out because he was not invited and he didn't need his money. He smiled and told him to open it. He looked inside, and he was expecting to come to court next week. He laughed and asked what it was. He told him to see him in court and enjoy his wedding night. Next week, he came. He was suing him for child support. As he said in his country, if you are aware that you have a child and refuse to go to the hospital to recognize him, you are no longer the father, but you are still forced to pay child support, and it is actually an increased rate because you tried to dodge responsibility like running from a car accident scene. He did not want to pay, so he tried to say that he wants the child or co-custody, that he is the biological and blood and blah blah. This made him happy because he wanted to drag the trial as much as possible to drain him of all his money, but he couldn't. After the judge saw all his declarations during the divorce trial, she ended the trial really fast and forced him to pay him 40% of his and his company income since the child was born until he will finish college or he gets married. Guess who did not manage to pay, and guess who is the new owner of his company now? He doesn't work anymore. He just rents his company and spends almost all his time with his child. Updates. A lot of people asked him about the child and the fact that he is not a bio father. He answered to some comments, but he wants to put this answer here so people will stop asking. He does not plan to hide his child that he is not the bio father. As he said in a previous comment, they will talk about this when the time will come in high school, maybe around that age. Until then, he will try to be the best friend and paternal figure he can be, and if his child decides to go to the bio father, then he will not have any objection. Deceive into bonding, he needs this child more than you think. After all that happened, he doesn't want a relationship anymore, and he is very lonely. Being financially free, he has no purpose in life anymore. And about the statistics, yes, statistics do not lie, and he did punish paternity fraud, but he punished the idiot who did it, not the innocent child. He harasses him every month if he is one day late on child support, and he has a lawyer on payday just to mess with him and scare him with another court call. He does not give a F about every man and blah blah. He takes care of himself and his child, and other people are not his business. If you are so insecure that you think he must punish his child so women will be scared to cheat on you, then maybe you are the problem. He completely agrees with your last statement, Up. The child is innocent, and you are correct. He punished the right people for putting him through so much. Take good care of your baby boy. Make sure that he grows up to be a man with morals and principles, a man with a shiny iron spine just like you, his father. Live long and prosper, Gigachad. Good luck. Guys, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate that you have devoted your time to my work, specifically on this channel. If you subscribe to the channel, I will be happy. But if you decide to talk to me in the comments about this story, I will be even happier. Stay tuned for my next story on this channel.